Check. All right. Good evening, everyone. Very, very warm welcome. It's always nice to see so many known faces, patrons of Target, joining us year on year. So very, very warm welcome to all of you. And for the folks who are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Target. As culture continues, before we actually get on to the Oration program, we normally spend about an hour looking at various dance performances, music performances by our dear family members, friends, well-wishers of Professor. So we will start off with a first song performance by Mrs. Gayatri Ravi on video, please.
தாமரை
right? That was Mrs. Gayatri Ravi, a family member of ours. Next up, can I have Dr. Hepzibah to play the mouth organ for us, please?
ஆரம்பிக்கும்போது போட்டுருங்க அது அந்த ஆடி அங்கே பேக் ட்ராப் பேக் ட்ராப்
Thank you, Dr. Hepsiba. Up next, we have Mrs. Manjula Kannan, who will be performing a Bharatnatyam piece for us. Mrs. Manjula started learning Bharatnatyam at a very young age. Her journey in Bharatnatyam has been enriched as she has been trained under various gurus in India. She performed her Arangetram in 1983 in Bangalore city, and she was also part of the youth delegation in the Festival of India in USSR in 1987. Her love for the art form brought her back to Bharatnatyam after 25 years of taking a break when she moved from Bangalore to Hyderabad. She is currently training under Guru Geeta Ganeshan in Hyderabad. Can we have Mrs. Manjula on stage, please?
Good evening, everyone. The item that I'm going to present today is Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. This is a very vibrant and a popular item in praise of Lord Shiva. It has been written by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. It is set to Revati Ragam and Adi Talam, and it has been choreographed by my Guru Geeta Ganeshan. So when we think of the Teen Murtis, that is Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, we always think of Brahma as the creator, Vishnu as the protector, and Shiva as the destroyer. But this item, apart from describing the various physical attributes of Shiva, brings out different aspects of Shiva that we don't normally connect him with his compassion. And he protects his devotees, and he comes to their rescue whenever they appeal to him. So Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho is Lord Shiva, he has been self-created, self-born, omnipresent. The item goes on to say, Gangadhara Shankara Karunakara, that is the one who is eternally compassionate, Karunakara. Mamava Bhava Sagara Taraka, that is the one who helps devotees cross the Bhava Sagara. This is the samudra of our desires, attachment and maya. He helps us cross that. Nirguna Parabrahma Swarupa, Gama Gama Bhuta Prapancha Charita, the one who has transcended the three gunas to become the embodiment of God or Brahma, and the one who bestows liberation to all devotees from all bonds. Apart from this, the item also says that Ishvara, you are praised by Matanga Muni, who is the greatest of sages. And it says, hey Lord of dance, the entire sky is the garments that you wear. You're always dancing happily, and you are the emperor of all the words. And there is an enactment of some stories about Shiva. One of them is Parvati was a devout devotee of Shiva and worshipped him with utmost love and affection. But Shiva was oblivious to her love. So Lord Indra sent Manmada, the god of love, so that he could distract Shiva from his meditation and pay some attention to Parvati. So Manmada raises the arrow of love, but when Shiva wakes up, he's very agitated. He opens his third eye and burns Manmada to ashes. There is another small episode which shows us the Samudra Manthan or the churning of the ocean. The Devas and the Asuras were churning the ocean to get nectar, the divine Amrit, so that they could gain immortality. But much to their dismay, when they were churning, first came out the poison. So they ran to Shiva for help. And Shiva drank the entire poison in his arms and thus saved the Devas and the Asuras. We also have another episode which shows that Shiva comes to the rescue of all his devotees. This is about Bhagiratha, who was a legendary king, and his ancestors were cursed by sage Kapila, and they were burnt to ashes, and they could not attain nirvana. So Bhagiratha prays to Ganga, and he requests her, please come to earth from heaven so that my ancestors can get nirvana. So Ganga agrees. But none on earth could actually handle the mighty force of the Ganges. So Bhagiratha appeals to Lord Shiva, please come and save us. And Shiva comes and protects us from the flow of the Ganges by putting it into his hair and channelizing her flow onto the earth. I have chosen this item today because it resonates the vibrancy, the energy, and the compassion of Gajaraj uncle, who is a shield of protection to all of us, was for all of us, for my family also. And he was the go-to person when we needed anything. So I very, very humbly dedicate this dance to Gajaraj uncle. So this is Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho by Dayanand Saraswati, Revati Ragam, Adi Talam, choreographed by my guru, Geeta Ganeshan. Thank you.
Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Bho Shambho Shiva Shambho Swayambho. 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 Shiva Shambho Swayambho. Shiva Shambho Swayambho. Oh भवसागर तारक गंगाधर शंकर करुणाकर हर हर गंगे हे गंगे गंगाधर शंकर करुणाकर गंगाधर शंकर करुणाकर मामव भवसागर तारक ओ शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो निर्गुण परब्रह्म स्वरूप गम गम भूत प्रपंचरहित निज गुण नीत नितांत अनंत आनंद अतिशय अक्षय लिंग निज गुण नीत नितांत अनंत आनंद अतिशय अक्षय लिंग भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो धीमित धीमी धीमी किट किट तोम तकदमी तक जनो ताम ताम तोम तोम तरी किट किट तोम धीम तदाम मतंग मुनिवर वंदित ईशा सर्व दिगंबर वेष्टित वेश ನಿತ್ಯ ನಿರಾಜನ ನೃತ್ಯ ನಟೇಶ ಕದ್ದಿಮ್ಮೇದ ಕಿಟ್ಟ ತದ್ದಿತ್ತ ದೀದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ಕದ್ದಿಮ್ಮೇದ ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ದೀದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಕ್ಕದಿಮ್ಮಿ ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ತಗದಿತ್ತ ದೀದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಕ್ಕದಿಮ್ಮಿ ತಕ್ಕಿ ತಗದಿತ್ತ ದೀದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಗಜಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ಜುಂಟುಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ಜುಂಟುಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ 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 ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದೀಂ 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 ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತುಂ 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 ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತಗದಿಗು ತರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ 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 ತಜ್ಜಂ ದೀಂ 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 ತಜ್ಜಂ ತುಂ 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 ತಜ್ಜಂ ತಗದಿಗು ತರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತಾಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತುಂ ತುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ನಂ ನಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತಗ ತರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತಾಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತುಂ ತುಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ನಂ ನಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದೀಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತುಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ನಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ತಾಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದೀಂ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದುಳಿದೊಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತುಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ನಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತಾಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ದೀಂ ತಜ್ಜಂ ತಗದು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ದೀಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ತಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟ ದೀಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ದೀಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಾಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ದೀಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತೊಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ನಂ ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ ತಗಜನು ತಗದಿಮಿ 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 ತಗದಿ ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಾಂ ತತ್ತಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣಂ ದದ ತಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ತತ್ತಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ದಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ತ ಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ದಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ರತ್ತಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ದ ದಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣತ್ತ ದ ದಿಂಗಿಣ್ಣಾಂ ತರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ 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 ತಗದರಿಗಿಡದೊಂ 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 ತಗದಿಗು ಕುದುಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಗದಿಗು ಕುದುಗಿಡದೊಂ ತಗದಿಗು ಕುದುಗಿಡದೊಂ ದಿಮಿತ ದಿಮಿತ ದಿಮಿ ದಿಮಿ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟದೊಂ ತೋಂ ತೋಂ ತರಿ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟದೊಂ ಮತಂಗ ಮುನಿವರ ವಂದಿತ ಈಶ ಸರ್ವ ದಿಗಂಬರ ವೇಷ್ಟಿತ ವೇಷ ನಿತ್ಯ ನಿರಂಜನ ನೃತ್ಯ ನಟೇಶ ಈಶ ಸಬೇಶ ಸರ್ವೇಶ ಭೂ ಶಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೋ ಭೋ ಶಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೋ ಭೋ ಶಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಸ್ವಯಂಭೋ.
Can we have another huge round of applause for Mrs. Manjula, please? Thank you, ma'am. All right, up next for our final cultural performance for the evening, may I invite Dr. Shobana, please?
Good evening. Thanks to Dr. Jayashree for this wonderful opportunity. While we are arranging the chairs for the dignitaries on the dais, I'm going to engage you all with a medley of Tamil film songs on flowers, knowing Dr. Jayashree's penchants for flowers, as you can see in the flower arrangement today evening. So, பூக்களை பற்றிய தமிழ் சினிமா பாடல்கள். I'm going to start with the queen of all flowers, hailing from Madurai. My favorite flower is Malligai. So there are several songs. I am just choosing one because we are getting late for the main function. So I'm going to start with Malligai Nale, K.R. Vijaya and avanga vekkira Malligai poo illaya. So Malligai en mannan mayangum பொன்னான மலரல்லவோ என்னேரமும் உன்னாசை போல் பெண் பாவை நான் பூச்சூடிக்கொள்ளவோ மல்லிகை என் மன்னன் மயங்கும் பொன்னான மலரல்லவோ. So next next to Malliga is always Mullai. Again, there are many songs, but nothing to beat Uttama Puthiran's Mullai Malar Mele, Moikumbandu Pole, Mullai Malar Mele, Moikumbandu Pole, உள்ளமுறவாடுதுங்கள் அன்பாலே உள்ளமுறவாடுதுங்கள் அன்பாலே முல்லை மலர் மேலே மொய்க்கும்பண்டு போலே. Then comes our Lily, also called Alli in Tamil. So லில்லியில் தமிழ் பாட்டு எம்ஜிஆர் போட்டிருக்காரு. லில்லி மலருக்கு கொண்டாட்டம் உன்னை பார்க்கையிலே, செர்ரி பழத்துக்கு கொண்டாட்டம் உன்னை பார்க்கையிலே. லில்லி இஸ் சச் அ டெண்டர் ஃப்ளவர். அதோட தண்டை வந்து ஒரு குழந்தையோட காலுக்கு அள்ளி தண்டு கால் எடுத்து அடிமேல் அடி எடுத்து சின்ன கண்ண நடக்கையிலே சித்திரங்கள் என்ன செய்யும். அல்லிப்பூவை கிள்ளி பார்க்க நான் என்னவோ கிள்ளும் போதே கண்ணி போகும் பூ அல்லவோ. ஸோ அந்த ஓல்டு சாங்ஸ் எல்லாம் முடிச்சுட்டு தென் இளையராஜா கேம் வித் அ பேங் இல்லையா, அன்னக்கிளி அண்ட் 16 வயதினிலே. செந்தூரப்பூவே செந்தூரப்பூவே ஜில்லென்ற காற்றே என் மன்னன் எங்கே என் மன்னன் எங்கே நீ கொஞ்சம் சொல்லாயோ. Actually there was no flower called Sendurapu. This is what Gangai Amaran told in a interview, but they just named this flower newly for the sake of the song. And then comes Javanthi in the same 16 வயதினிலே. செவ்வந்தி பூ முடிச்ச சின்னக்கா சேதி என்னக்கா நீ செட்டாட்டம் பேரடிச்சே சொல்லக்கா முத்து பல்லக்கா அது என்னமோ எண்ணமோ. Then comes Shenbagam. We are all familiar with the Ramarajan's very famous Shenbagame Shenbagame தென்பொதிகை சந்தனமே தேடி வரும் உன் மனமே சேர்ந்திருந்தால் சம்மதமே. And then comes தாழம்பூ. தாழம்பூவே வாசம் வீசு. And nobody can forget முள்ளும் மலரும். செந்தாழம் பூவில் வந்தாடும் தென்றல் என் மீது மோதுதம்மா. And we have தாமரை, many songs of those days. தாமரை கன்னங்கள் தேன்மலர் கிண்ணங்கள் எத்தனை வண்ணங்கள் முத்தமாய் சிந்தும் போது. And then we have இளையராஜாஸ். ஆயிரம் தாமரை மொட்டுக்களே வந்து ஆனந்த கும்மிகள் கொட்டுங்களேன், இன்று 2 ஜாதி மல்லிகை தொட்டுக்கொள்ளும் காமன் பண்டிகை கோயிலில் காதல் தொழுகை ஆயிரம் தாமரை. Then we have A.R. Rahman's தங்கத்தாமரை. தங்கத்தாமரை மகளே வாழகே வெள்ளம் மன்மத வெள்ளம் சிறு விரிசல் கண்டது உள்ளம் இவையெல்லாம் பெண்ணே உன்னாலே தங்கத்தாமரை மகளே. Then we have the king of all flowers, Roja, starting from ரோஜா மலரே ராஜகுமாரி ஆசை கிளியே அழகிய ராணி அருகில் வரலாமா, வருவது சரிதானா உறவும் முறைதானா. Then இளையராஜாஸ். ரோஜாவை தாலாட்டும் தென்றல் பொன்மேகம் நம் பந்தல் உன் கூந்தல் என் ஊஞ்சல் உன் வார்த்தை சங்கீதங்கள் ரோஜாவை தாலாட்டும் தென்றல். Who can forget A.R. Rahman's காதல் ரோஜாவி எங்கே நீ எங்கே கண்ணீர் வழிதடி கண்ணே கண்ணுக்குள் நீதான் கண்ணீரில் என்னானதோ ஏதானதோ சொல் சொல். And Roja Nale, the other thing is a rose is a rose is a rose. Again, this has come as a song as in Roja 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 Roja. So I'm going to end this rendering with a very rare flower which blossoms once in 12 years. You all must have heard this from Dr. Shiva. பாடிடும் காற்றே பறவை நீனமே பனிமலை தொடரில் பாய்ந்திடும் நதியே ஓடோடி வாருங்களே கொடியரும்பாக செடியினில் தோன்றி கோயிலில் வாழும் தேவனை சேரும் மலரே நீ பெண்ணல்லவோ இறைவன் சூட நீ மலர்ந்தாய் பிறந்த பயனை நீ அடைந்தாய் மலரே குறிஞ்சி மலரே மலரே குறிஞ்சி மலரே. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shobna, for mesmerizing us with your voice year on year. With that, we wrap up our cultural performances for the evening and we move on to the Oration program. Once again, a very, very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us virtually and in person. My name is Aishwarya Tilak and co-hosting with me is Mrs. Sindhuja, and both of us are grandnieces of Professor Gajaraj, or as we fondly and dearly call him, Dr. Tata. In this 19th edition, we are very, very happy to welcome all of you once again. Sindhu?
Thank you, Aishwarya. What makes it even more special this year is the esteemed dignitaries who have very graciously accepted our invites, and I would now like to extend a very warm welcome on behalf of the entire Target family. Request Mr. Sudhakar Kesavan, Mr. Rajashekharan, and Mrs. Muthu Rajesh to escort them onto the stage. And the little ones, Nikita and Sahana, to greet them. I take immense privilege in inviting our orator, Dr. V. Mogan, Chairman and Chief of Diabetology, Dr. Mogan Diabetes Specialty Center and Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. Next up, it's an absolute honor to have Dr.C.Sylendra Babu, Indian Police Service retired, former DGP, Head of Police Force, Tamil Nadu, as our chief guest today. Next up, it's my pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Professor Dr. P.B. Shivaraman, Consultant Urologist, Transplant Surgeon, Head of Department of Urology, Chairman, Curie Hospital. Joining us virtually and in spirit, we have Dr. P.N. Patel, General Physician, and Mr. Ganesh Babu Balakrishnan, Director of Head of India Payment Centers at NatWest Group, to take us down memory lane. And last but not least, our very own Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj, Chairperson, Target Foundation and Kausalya Gajaraj Trust. Thank you, everyone. Now that we have all our esteemed guests on the dais, let's begin this occasion with an invocation to Mother Tamil. May I now call upon Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, Dr. Surya Kala, and Dr. Shobana to join me on stage as we sing Tamil Thai Varthu. I humbly request everyone to please stand up and join us. கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறனிதழும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிலமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for that beautiful rendition. As we are in the spirit of invocation, may I also request all of the dignitaries on stage to light the lamp, please. And from our audience, can I request Dr. Lalita Kesavan to join us? May I also request Colonel Krishnan to join us as we light the lamp, sir?
Thank you, everyone. With no further ado, may I now request our very own Dr. Gajaraj, Chairperson, Target Foundation and Kausalya Gajaraj Trust, to welcome the gathering.
Good evening to all our friends, family who have gathered here today. Time really flies. When you think back, today is the 19th memorial oration. He left us 18 years ago. And every year, it's very heartening to see that so many of us come together to pay tribute to him. Because he's touched each and every one of us in a different way, but all of us remember it even today. Thank you very much for coming. A very warm welcome to our chief guest, Sylendra Babu. He is someone who I was amazed at his response. The whole invitation, everything was on WhatsApp. And I was like really scared to approach him, to ask him. But he just, very, very simple language, he said, please meet me on this date. I met him. I wanted to meet him to give the invitation. And he said, no formalities, doctor. I'll be there. Just tell me the time. That was something great. It really, I think it speaks of greatness. And I'm so, so happy that you're with us today. Thank you for accepting. Many in the audience would know and know much more about our guest of honor, Professor Sivaraman. My association with him goes back a long way. And if I were to recollect every incident when I have interacted with him, we would need days and weeks to go by. But he still is the same Professor Sivaraman. He has not changed at all. Many years ago, his was one of the only few imported cars in the city, and he would drive it around very proudly. And all of us would peep out to see. We were not in a car, we were all in a bus at that time. And we would look out to see this car go by. Much later, he would just drive past and offer a lift to us. So that was, I mean, it's amazing. He's a really amazing person, and I'm so happy to have him with us today. Professor Sivaraman, thank you for joining us. Dr. Mohan Vishwanathan, what do I say about him? Till today, I have not even met him once with regard to this function. I was trying to contact him. Then my dear friend, Dr. Umar Ram, interacted and said, call him on this number, probably he's not responding to the other one. I WhatsApped him, and every single invitation has gone through WhatsApp. Today is the first day I saw him in person here. Thank you so much, Mohan. I can take the liberty of calling him Mohan because he's just 2 years my senior in college. And I think that 2-year senior batch was a very special batch. We had a lot of very, very good students, unlike our batch. Sorry, my classmates are all here. Who I think each and every one of them has excelled beautifully in their field that they've chosen. And it's a great honor for Target Foundation that he's delivering this 19th memorial oration for us. Thank you so much, Mohan. A warm welcome to, as I said, all family, friends who are gathered here today. Many of my own classmates who have supported me every year, who have been with me here. My relatives, my aunts, my uncles, some of them who have come from far away, some who have joined us online, and special thanks to some of the very senior professors and doctors who have always been with us, and one such is Colonel Krishnan. Thank you, Uncle, for joining us. Colonel Krishnan is a senior gastroenterologist and a very, very close friend of my father. He is again one of those who has always been with us right through. The other from the trio, Venkatu Uncle, is not able to join us, but I'm hoping he's online with us today. Thank you very much. A few words about the foundation and about the charitable trust before we move on. The next, yeah. So this foundation was actually started by a group of his students. In fact, 9 of them who got together way back in May 2005 and said we should start this foundation in his memory and conduct PG classes at subsidized rates so that all postgraduates would benefit. And that's how the Target Foundation started. We had a series of seminars and CMEs which went on beautifully. Gradually, the need for these seminars decreased as webinars came about, etc. And we then moved on to standalone orations, which we have been doing for the past few years. And he himself is, he's actually born in Mandalay in Burma, moved to Chennai at the age of 15, did his high school here in Chennai, because by the time the war had started and they could not write their exams there, he moved to Chennai. And he's an alumni of the Madras Christian College, where he did his BSc Botany with a state first rank, which he never missed an opportunity to tell us. MBBS from Stanley Medical College, and MD from the Madras Medical College under Professor A.L. Annamalai. He got the A.L. Annamalai Gold Medal in MD General Medicine. And he did a diploma in radiology, which was what was available for radiologists at that time. So by virtue of the MD General Medicine and DR, he was a qualified radiologist and a radiotherapist at that time. Next slide. So just to say a few words about him, those of you who don't know much about him, he's a very self-made person, extremely disciplined, and you can see some of us here try hard to work, stand up to his discipline, but I think we have been failing every time. And he was loved by people around him always, helped generously without expectation, and Target, I think, is the best tribute to him and his life. So thank you once again for being with us. We started in 2018 the Kausalya Gajaraj Charitable Trust, mainly to try and help the people who are less privileged than us. And we're happy to say that we've done a lot of programs from 2018 onwards, a little setback during the COVID times, but we continue to do our bit even during the COVID times. The need for masks, PPEs, etc. was all fulfilled by us. And we have continued to distribute notebooks, textbooks, etc. to school students. And again, when time to time, at Annadhanam at ashrams have been conducted. And this was at the hearing impaired school in Ramavaram, where I realized for the first time that just giving hearing aids was not enough. We needed batteries to run these hearing aids. And these batteries did not last forever. So each battery had a lifetime, and there was no point giving these hearing aids to them. So we donated batteries for these children with a promise that we would keep renewing these batteries when the need came. And that's again thanks to my cousin Malati, who has been with the hearing impaired children for almost 25 years of her life. She's been helping me throughout in this. So this, I think, most of it. So we had a lot of stalwarts. We started with Professor K.V. Thiruvengadam. Most of us here know he's a legend, and we were so happy to have him as our first orator. And then you can see from the list of orators that we have had, each and every one of them has excelled in their field, and we are so happy to have had them with us deliver the orations one year after year. Last year was Managing Childhood Deafness, Trials, Tribulations and Triumphs by Professor Mohan Kameshwaran, again a classmate of Dr. Mohan Vishwanathan. So happy to have Mohan with us again today as a follow-on. So I think
Dr. Jayashree.
So thank you very much, and welcome all of you once again to this occasion, the 19th Professor Arcot Gajaraj Memorial Oration. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jayashree. Up next is a section that all of us hold very, very close to our hearts. We call it the Down Memory Lane section, where friends, family members, well-wishers, and students of Professor Gajaraj share very beautiful memories that they've had with him. So for that section today, we have Dr. D.N. Patel, a dear friend of Professor who'd like to share a few words on some really nice memories that he's had with him.
Srinagar, where he also was a member. In one of the meetings, friends, I thank Dr. Jayashree for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and experiences with her father, late Dr. Gajaraj. I am Dr. P.N. Patel, a specialist in internal medicine. I met Dr. Gajaraj in many of my Rotary Nagar meetings, where he also was a member. In one of the meetings, the senior Rotarians and the president of the club wanted to close Rotary Nagar project, which was started several years earlier. I stood up and objected, and Dr. Gajaraj strongly supported me. And I am glad to say that the project is still existing in good shape and mode. And now for some funny moments with Dr. Gajaraj. I had to host a party for 25 to 30 Rotarians. Halfway through the party, I had to leave to attend for an emergency. Dr. Gajaraj smilingly took over and concluded, and the party went off very well. So I thanked Dr. Gajaraj and we had a hearty laugh together. Once I developed a very severe cough and my physician, Dr. KVT, wanted a CT scan. And so I again approached Dr. Gajaraj at Dr. Rai's clinic. He put me on the table, took the CT scan, but forgot to tell me to get off the table, and he went on for about 20 minutes reading my scan. He came out and saw me lying on the table and deeply apologized, and we had a hearty laugh. But he said, the good part is that your scan is absolutely normal. In conclusion, I miss Dr. Gajaraj a lot, and I'm sure even Dr. Jayashree would be missing him a lot. But I wish Dr. Gajaraj, Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj, all best in a practice for the future.
Thank you, sir. We can't hear enough of our professor, so we have yet another family member this time, Mr. Ganesh, who would like to share his thoughts on his memories that he shares with Professor.
Good evening. I have learned many things from Professor Arcot Gajaraj. I would like to share 3 key things. I see them as very important learnings for me. Number 1, clarity. This was 28 years back. I got engaged to his grandniece Kavita. I got a chance to see Professor. He was hospitalized. So I had a brief meeting. At the end I asked him, can I get something? He said, Ganesh, actually I need a pajama, but no nadas. I need elastic and a zip. I got it done. Then I was wondering why he wants those things. Then I realized he was very clear in what he wants. That clarity, I really liked it. And I also learned that he don't want to settle for second best. Second one, the ethics. So engagement was over, marriage over, and Kavita was pregnant. We did scan. Uncle said, scan, everything is okay. Then I asked Kavita, boy or girl? Then she told me, you know about uncle, you'll never share that. Actually, எனக்கு புரியல, but later stage I understood it is all about professional ethics, and I learned how important to follow that at work. So இதில் என்ன பெனிஃபிட் நீங்கள் கேட்டிங்கன்னா டெஃபினட்டாக I can tell one thing, you can sleep well. And third thing I want to share is time. I remember this even today. I went to see him, but unannounced. When I went there, he was about to leave with his family for a function. Then Dr. Jayashree தான் சொன்னாங்க, இது மாதிரி we are going for a function. Uncle தான் chief guest and he always want to be on time. I said okay. Then I came home. I was thinking about that. Those days generally chief guest na லேட்டாக தானே போவாங்க, இவர் ஏன் டைமுக்கு போகணுன்ட்டு சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்ட்டு. when then I realized how important to keep up the time. It really helped me, especially because I work for a British bank and they are always on time. And I used to attend at least 3 to 4 meetings every day. And yaar first varadanu always a competition, and I used to give them tough fight. So these are the 3 learnings, and for me it is a game changer. Uncle, we miss you, but the values you taught me still lives within myself. Big thank you for that. I would like to thank Dr. Jayashree for this wonderful opportunity to share my learnings. Thank you, Ka.
Thank you, Dr. P.N. Patel and Mr. Ganesh, for sharing your fond memories with Professor Gajaraj, and that was indeed a very special one. Up next, I invite Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Sudhakar to introduce our guest of honor, Professor P.B. Shivaraman, who will then address the gathering.
Good evening all and welcome to the event. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. P.B. Shivaram, who graciously accepted our invite and join us. Dr. P.B. Shivaram is currently the chairman of Chennai Urology and Robotics Institute Hospital, which is a dedicated urology and robotic surgery hospital aiming to make advanced urological care affordable to serve the community. He is a distinguished and well-known urologist and as a professor and head of department at Madras Medical College, he has left behind a legacy of urologists trained by him who are leaders in their field of work across the country. Dr. P.B. Shivaram completed his basic and higher medical education and specialization in MCH surgical urology at Madras Medical College, Chennai. He further completed his fellowship at Royal College of Surgeons at Edinburgh. He has worked for 5 years in higher training at various urology department centers in the UK. He was also a consultant urologist at King Khalid Hospital in Saudi Arabia. He has had training in cadaver kidney transplantation at the Medical Center and Transplant Laboratory and Polish Academy of Sciences, Warsaw, Poland. Dr. P.B. Shivaraman is one of the most experienced and respected senior urologists in the country. He is one of the first surgeons to perform cadaver kidney transplantation in a government institution in India. He has several awards under his hat. He is credited with nearly 2,000 successful kidney transplants and an appreciation of his yeoman services to the poor patients. He has been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Rotary Club of India. He has been honored with the Doctor of Science by Madras Medical University, Chennai. In recognizing his contribution as a urology teacher, his students and assistant professors have instituted an endowment oration in his honor in the Urological Society of India. In appreciation of his services to the urology and teaching skills, the Urology Society of India awarded him Urology Gold Medal. He has served as president of premier professional bodies in urology in India, such as Tamil Nadu Pondicherry Urological Society and Madras Urological Society. He is also the member of Cancer of Prostate Endeavor, an organization involved in research and creating awareness of prostate cancer. He is a lifetime member of Urological Society of India. He also has full registration with the General Medical Council of the UK. I welcome Doctor.
Good evening, everybody. The dignitaries in the dais and Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj, I really thank you for the opportunity here. It is my great pleasure and a privilege to be associated with Target Association. And when I see all the senior professors and my colleagues and friends, I feel very, very happy that I am one of your friends and one of your family. A lot of things have been told about me. all those things could not have been possible but for teachers like Professor Gajaraj, with whom I was doing my MBBS in MMC and also MS and also MCH in urology. Throughout that time, Professor Gajaraj was a professor of radiology, and his teachings will never go out from my mind. And all the small achievements which I could do it because of the basics given by our professors and my teachers in Madras Medical College. Professor Gajaraj used to be very, very conscientious in his teaching, and every time he used to conduct combined conferences with surgical team, orthopedics team, and other urological team. So every week we will meet with him and then discuss about the important cases which requires further investigations like that. So the knowledge was shared, and he was very jovial person and a very down-to-earth man. He didn't give a ado of that he is a professor and things. He was very friendly. So we used to talk to him personally also for about any doubts in our things. So he was really a great professor and a teacher, and I will never forget those days where I worked with him. I could see Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj doing a very good. She herself is a great gynecologist, which I should not praise in front of her, but though it is a fact, I have to tell it back. And she was telling me about my car and all. That was in 1985, an ordinary Jetta Volkswagen car. And at that time, the shape was different. In India, did not have it, that's all. When I came back from UK, but for that, there is nothing big. I used to feel that somebody is telling about that a small car itself. Now people have all Porsche and everything. So thank you, madam, for remembering those things. And I really had a very good time with the lady, Dr. Gajaraj, Mrs. Jayashree Gajaraj. When I was an assistant professor and in charge of urology department, Government Ghosh Hospital, I was the first urogynecologist at that time. There was nobody who was looking after female urology. So at that time, they were all in that hospital, and we had a very good time there. So after, I do not want to take a lot of time because there is a big person next to me to share his thoughts with you, and Dr. Mohan's lecture. Thank you very much for this opportunity. God bless.
Thank you, Professor. Up next, may I invite Mr. Sudhakar Kesavan to now introduce our chief guest, who will then address the gathering.
Thank you, Ash. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you proud and tall with a Herculean task of introducing the chief guest of this function. It is actually akin to holding a torch to highlight the sun. This is not just an introduction, rather an inspiration to many. Dr.C.Sylendra Babu, IPS, retired as the Director General of Police and Head of Police Force, Tamil Nadu. His education is done his PG in Agriculture from the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Annamalai University, and BGL, followed by an MBA. He's also had his PG Diploma in Cybercrime Investigation, Hindustan University, and a doctorate from the University of Madras, Chennai. Various postings he has now gone through in his career, starting from an ASP in Gobichettipalayam, Salem, and Dharmapuri, moving on to become a SP, then the Joint Commissioner of Police, Chennai City, Deputy Inspector General of Police, Viluppuram and Trichy Rangers, IG of Police, Commissioner of Police, Coimbatore City, Inspector General of Police, North Zone of Tamil Nadu, Additional Director General of Police, Law and Order, Additional Director General of Police, Prisons, Tamil Nadu, and then finally Director General of Police and Head of Police Force, Tamil Nadu. He is graduated as a, thank you much. He had graduated as a commando in National Security Guards, Black Hat, Manesar, Academy Development Training Program conducted by the US experts during 2009. Leadership training on international crime issues in the USA during 2007. He's an exemplary athlete. He has won the RD Singh Cup for swimming, National Police Academy, Hyderabad. Represented India in Asian Masters Athletic Championship in Bangkok in the year December 2004. Champions of Champion title in shooting 2017. Cycled 4,200 kilometers from Kashmir to Kanyakumari from 7th November 2016 to the 3rd December 2016. Swam 28.7 kilometers of Park Strait from Talaimana, Sri Lanka to Dhanushkodi in 12 hours 20 minutes on the 27th of March 2018. He's run 50 marathons from the year 2012 up to 2019. Super randonneur in cycling. This means doing 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers, and 600 kilometer cycling in one cycling session with a stimulated time. I'm having to take a breath now. And champions of champion again in the shooting in the year 2023. Medals received: the Prime Minister's Medal for Life Saving for swimming across the lake and saving 18 people from a lake in Sivangangai during January 1997. President's Police Medal for Meritorious Service in the year 2005. President's Police Medal for Distinguished Services 2013. The Chief Minister's Medal for Outstanding Devotion to Duty in 2000 for curbing communal riots. Chief Minister's Medal for Gallantry for armed encounter with Naxalites in 1993 and for apprehending elephant poachers in an armed shootout in 2000. STF Police Medal for Gallantry, Bravery, and Heroic Action. Initiatives: introduced camera-based aerial traffic control system in Coimbatore city. Introduced reception officers in police stations. Developed cyber investigation teams in 6 northern districts of Tamil Nadu. Introduced a day with commissioner for school children. Rescued about 1,000 people in Tambaram and Mudichur during the flood in 2015. Fishermen as home guards in the coastal security were inducted by him. He raised 3,700 fire and rescue volunteers in Fire and Rescue Service Department. He is an author of multiple books. I'll just go through a list. Boys and Girls Be Ambitious. You too can become an IPS officer. Health and Happiness. Principles of Success in Interview. Good Teacher to Great Teacher. இளமையில் வெல் 24 போர் விதிகள் சிந்தித்த வேளையில் நம்மாலும் முடியும் சாதிக்க ஆசைப்படு உனக்குள் ஒரு தலைவன் அமெரிக்காவில் 24 நாட்கள் நீங்களும் ஒரு ஐபிஎஸ் அதிகாரியாகலாம் உடலினை உறுதி செய். Sir, I welcome you.
Respected Dr. Sivaraman, Senior Doctor, respected Dr. V. Mohan, respected Dr. Jayashree, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my proud privilege to be the chief guest of Dr. Gajaraj Memorial Oration. I am particularly happy because once upon a time I wanted to become a doctor. And I tried at least 4 times. Okay. I wrote my school examination 4 times again and again. But suddenly the government came into an order that people of that particular year, it's called PUC, they are debarred from studying in medical colleges. That's when I stopped my effort to become a doctor. I'm so passionate about this profession of doctor. If probably you give me an opportunity to join a medical college, I may not hesitate to join first year MBBS. So you can imagine how happy I must be that I am invited to talk in one of the most illustrious doctors' memory, an oration in memory of the great doctor. Abraham Lincoln said, next to creating a life, the finest thing a man can do is to save life. There is, of course, a similarity between the police and the doctors. You save lives. We also protect life. With the possible exception, sometimes we take life also. The profession of doctors is not a job, it's a calling. I also have personal interest in medicine and medical practice because I am also an endurance sports person. Somebody who introduced me very generously, thank you very much. And endurance sports requires the constant attention of the doctors and the help by the doctors, particularly the cardiologists, orthopedic doctors. Even before coming here, I went to a doctor for my shoulder pain. And he said there's no need for surgery, we can medically manage through a physiotherapy. Doctors are doing a good job I don't know how many of you will believe me if I say that probably some of us may not be even alive today if you don't have the doctors. I mean the allopathic medical practitioners. I always am a fan of the science-based medicine, a medicine based on evidence. I'm very particular about it. One of the great qualities I learned from my father served with the Indian Navy. Any medical problem, he'll go straight to the government hospital where doctors are there. Doctors, I mean MBBS doctors. I have written a book, Health and Happiness. In this book, I have mentioned that anywhere in this book, if I have mentioned doctor, it means anybody who has studied at least MBBS or BDS, not anybody else. People can be a lot of doctors all around now. One of the biggest problem here is that everybody is a doctor. If you have any problem, you tell your friend, immediately he will give you a medicine, a set of medical practices that he learned or earned from his grandmother, her grandfather, from the surrounding. If I call my sister, or if she understands that I am coughing, she'll ask, what happened? You are coughing. Then she'll give me 5-6 different methods, medicines, and food habits. I don't know where she has learned all this. Which medical book is referring to all this? Whether anywhere in this world, 188 sovereign countries, they are following all these practices. So many practices, they'll immediately recommend. There is no need for qualification. That's a big problem in this country. I'll come to this a little later. So, Professor Arcot, Gajaraj, from the biodata that I have received from Dr. Jayashree, you can make out he's a brilliant doctor. Some of the testimony has been read out and spoken by a few doctors. That is very punctual. I was only late by 1 minute, doctor, today. Somebody said the VIP should come a little later, if at all. He has to maintain his dignity. If you come on time, generally people don't respect you that much. Probably this fellow is jobless or not very important. You know, sometimes what happens when I commit for some school or college functions earlier times, I land on time, but they may not be ready. And I must go and look for the person who invited me to this school. They may not be ready. So, very punctual, and he was he paid attention to detail and for his clarity. But from the biodata of his education, his practice, and what he did at the later stage of his life, I can only say that he was a leader. That's what we really need today. At the time of independence, one of the greatest worries whether the people of India, their health can be taken care by the Indian doctors. At the time, it was all mostly the European, particularly the English doctors, who were all over the medical colleges, in the hospitals. But soon, in a few years, great personalities, men and women, they emerged as wonderful doctors, practitioners, professors, and they produced a crop of a lot of doctors who can match the best doctors in the whole world. Today, if you go to the UK or the US, some of the leading doctors in those most advanced countries are from India. Some of the very few departments which can boast of as the best in the world is medical department. The second one, can you guess, is the police department. We don't want any foreigners to police our own people, which is, of course, one of the most difficult jobs in the whole world. Number of people, number of castes, religions, the strategy of the people on the street. A policeman must meet a person who studied in Harvard and a person who had not studied anything at all. From a bullock cart to the Mercedes-Benz, the variety of people the policeman has to face. So these are the great doctors who has provided the leadership. That's very, very important. That's my message, that young doctors sitting here, more than being a real practitioner or a great doctor, knowledgeable person, and you have published so many things. What's more important today is that mentoring, leadership, how many people you created, young doctors. Dr. Gajaraj is a typical example. When I retired from service, somebody asked me, what's the greatest contribution to the police department? I told them I served here for 37 long years. My greatest contribution is I have trained 257 IPS officers who will lead this police department in the next 37 years. They'll take care of the police department. So, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard a term called happiness index? World Happiness Index. How many of you are really happy today? I don't know. You know something? You are the people who make us happy. You are the one who put happiness in our faces. Do you know that? Yes. Somebody said, I cycled from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. On what guarantee did I cycle? Do you know? Cycling is much dangerous, not from the working out point of view, from the traffic accident point of view. Swimming is very deadly. From Sri Lanka to India, if you swim for 12 hours, there's every possibility that you can be bitten by one of the poisonous snakes. There are jellyfishes, which bite can be paralyzing. There can be sharks. And the worst that can happen to you, because the swimming starts late in the night, 12 o'clock you must jump from Sri Lanka, that Talamannar. It's pitch dark, and in a few minutes if you faint, the swimmer faints, he will drown. The people who are accompanying may not even know you. But with all this risk, we are comfortable with the risk. Do you know why? Because there is a doctor. There is a doctor, emergency doctor with me. He'll take care of me if something happens. So we all live, the citizens live on the confidence that there are doctors. They will not allow us to die that easily. If I have a heart attack here, 100% I know that Jayashree will take me to a place and in a few hours I'll be okay. We won't die that easy. Just imagine a situation 100 years before. 100 years before, I have gone through the police records. A lot of women, they die, commit suicide. They jump into the river, they jump into the well, and they say she had a stomach pain. Can you guess what is the cause, possibly? Kidney stone. Kidney stone. There are medical conditions like this because of which people die, of course. Because of the preventive vaccination, we live happily. So those days, the pain of diseases are so much. Particularly the women suffer in the scheme of things, because even then the women cannot be seen by a male doctor. There are big stories, that's not the place to say. But the point is that the citizens, we are happy because we have qualified doctors who will take care of our health. So this subject called happiness index really fascinates me because we are the largest country in the whole world. Largest number of people are living in this country. And the largest young people are living in this country. But then, our ranking, we are the 126th out of 136 countries in the world for which the survey is taken. Just now we had a nice song by Dr. Shobana, such a nice, lovely song. I was so happy after a long, long time. I would have preferred you continue for the next 1 hour singing all those songs completely. So, still, the result is that a lot of people are not very happy. There are 5 reasons they say for people of the country to be happy. One is, you can guess, per capita income, GDP. We have a lot of money probably. If somebody says that, you can not become happy because of if you have money, don't believe them. They're trying to cheat you. Okay? So money makes people happy, because if you don't have the money, it can be still worse. Social support. Some countries, if you don't even work, they'll pay you. Like there's always a backup, social support. Number 3, most important. That's where the doctors come into picture. Your role is very, very important. Life expectancy. Health. Health is very important. Today in this country, you can know a few million children die because of hunger. In this country, 1 out of 3 children are stunted. You can know the doctor, V. Morgan will be knowing about. We are supposed to be the diabetic capital of the whole world. So probably it's a big challenge the doctors today face. You have huge responsibility. When I said that I tried for 5 times and I'm willing to join medical college even today, any doctor sitting here, you must know how important is your profession, how significant job you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So this is a big subject that, health of the people is still a casualty. That's why our life expectancy, which is come from 35 years when India got independence to now 69 years, thanks to the doctors. I mean, science-based, evidence-based doctors. I can't say more than this because it can be offensive sometimes. But doctors face a lot of challenges today. It's not that easy. I am seeing a lot of doctors. I have opened hospitals in some places because some of the young people who are in the schools, they became doctors. And I was a superintendent of police or commissioner of police, and they come and tell me, sir, you must come and open my clinic. I have a lot of association with doctors sometimes. Doctors, the district doctors, do you know in the districts, there will be a collector, there will be a judge, there is a superintendent of police, there will be a medical officer in the district. So the district police, district administration, there is a district superintendent of police and district superintendent of hospitals. In Coimbatore, when I was the commissioner, my neighbor was the district medical officer. Now that Bangalore has gone to the dean of Coimbatore Medical College. So we are neighbors. So with this association, we know the stress they undergo today is today's world. Big challenge. One of the big challenges they face is, you would have seen some of the cases in which the doctors' hospitals are attacked, doctors themselves are attacked. There's a case of a murder of a lady doctor. One of the reasons is the false information about doctors is being spread very actively by people, especially science-based allopathic doctors. Sometimes even allopathic doctors themselves suddenly become superstitious, and they spread false information, adverse information about science-based doctors, thereby creating a kind of aversion, distrust among the doctors. One of the reasons why a lot of people have a problem with the doctors is that there are a lot of false notions about medicine, medical practice, health and happiness. Dr. Morgan is sitting here. Once I read this article about ABCD of last time, the Hindu carried an article about Dr. Morgan, that if you really want to, you may be pre-diabetic or you may be diabetic, and people are advocating that diabetes can be reversed. He says it's not possible to reverse diabetes. It can only be controlled. Yeah, you said some other word. It can be remission. Yeah, it can be remission. Not. Last year I opened the newspaper. It was World Diabetes Day. I expected Dr. B. Morgan will be there in the first column explaining about diabetes. He was not there. I was disappointed. The nature of the country and the people. World Diabetes Day, the biggest article of the day in a particular leading newspaper. Can you guess who was the author of this World Diabetes Day's message? It was a godman. The local godman, most popular godman of Tamil Nadu is talking about diabetes. And he was talking about nonsense. None of the solutions he is giving has any relevance to any medical science or any medical research or any medical practice anywhere in the world except India. He's telling a lot of things. Everything can be even corrected. But Dr. B. Morgan says it cannot be. Diabetes cannot be reversed. It can only be remission. It can be done. He says A means A1C, glaciated, hemoglobin should be high. B must be like blood pressure. C is peptide, and D is discipline. That's very important. So health is all about discipline. Okay, nice. So in this context, I will only, since a lot of doctors are there, when I was the chief of the police, I have made an attempt to safeguard doctors from the false accusations, motivated litigations. Doctors are so scared nowadays because of the activists who bring doctors into unnecessary litigations. So I have issued an order to all the police officers on this subject, which was, it was communicated to all the police officers how they will deal in case of a complaint of negligence on the part of doctors. This, in fact, has, I don't know, there's no time. I've given an instruction to the doctors that they shall not register a case against doctors unless there is an evidence which is approved by the professor in a medical college, first of all. Even if there's an evidence, they must take a legal opinion. Number 3, even if there's a negligence and even if a crime is committed, there is no need to arrest a doctor. It's enough they can submit the report in the court of law. clear-cut instructions were given to safeguard the interest of the doctors. So, dear doctors, on the day of this 19th memorial oration in memory of Dr. Gajaraj, I'd like to just thank all of you for the great service you are doing to the humanity, to people like us. I came only to thank all of you. And doctors have a huge responsibility in the largest country in the world. It's a big challenge because of poor information, bad information, false information. Something very bad is that it's not only that people don't have the knowledge, the illusion of knowledge is very dangerous, which is a very great challenge to the doctors. Police department and government will always stand by you. And I will conclude with only one remark that, the great job that you're all doing. Once I went to Mettur Dam. It was constructed by a few British engineers. And in the Mettur Dam, when they construct dam in India, what is the first thing they construct? It is not the dam or it is not the guest house for the engineer. Can you guess? It is the police station. It's a police station because if they bring the material from England, the next morning it will disappear. Even Robert Clive's horses in Madurai, by the time he went to see somebody and came back, the horses were missing. He said, what's happening? They said, sir, don't worry. In India, we have a lot of investigating officers. If you so wish, the horses will be back in a few hours. Only thing is, you have to give an investigation charges. Thupuguli, it's called Thupuguli. He was so amazed. Because in England, it requires a lot of effort. You have to go to the police station, you must register a case, they will come and take the evidence, they will find the culprit, they go to the court, and the court will ultimately, after 6 months, give the horses back. Indian investigation and judiciary system is so fast. In 4 hours, the horse came. And he wanted to reward those guys who investigated. 6 of them lined up. The chief investigating officer, his assistants, his assistant. He immediately ordered all of them to be hanged. The nearest tamarind tree. And all of them were hanged. So when they construct a dam, the first thing they do is a police station. So police station apart, in the police station, there's a table, column. It says, I shall not pass through this way again. Therefore, if I can do a good thing to a human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer it, for I shall not pass this way again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that very engaging talk. Before we move on, I request Dr. Jayashree to share a token of appreciation to our Chief of Guest and our Guest of Honor on behalf of the Target Foundation. Thank you, Dr. Jayashree. And now, as we move on to the most awaited event of this evening, the oration, may I now request Professor Dr. Shivaraman and Dr. Sylendra Babu to grace us on the dais again to offer the plaque and citation to our orator, Dr. V. Morgan. Thank you, everyone. May I now request Dr. Bharati, Senior Consultant Radiologist, a very favorite student of Professor Gajaraj, who has worked with him for several years, to deliver the citation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Target Foundation is proud to present the 19th Professor Arcot Gajaraj Memorial Oration, Dr. V. Mohan, a renowned clinician delivering care to patients with diabetes across the country for more than 4 decades. Dr. Mohan completed his schooling with a state rank from St. Mary's High School, Madras. He then joined the Madras Medical College to pursue a career in medicine. After obtaining his MBBS, he joined MD General Medicine and graduated with the Dr. R.V. Rajam Gold Medal for standing first in the University of Madras. He worked for a year as a Wellcome Trust Research Fellow at the Royal Postgraduate Medical School and Hammersmith Hospital, London, UK, from 1984 to 1985, and as an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow at the University of Ulm, Germany, from 1985 to 1986. His research in the field of fibrocalculus pancreatic diabetes was recognized, and he was awarded a PhD in 1987 and a DSc by thesis in 1997. Under the tutorship of his father, Professor M. Vishwanathan, a pioneer in diabetology in India, Dr. Mohan started his research in diabetes at the age of 18. Along with his father, he set up the first private center for diabetes care in India in 1971. Dr. Mohan and his late wife, Dr. Rama Mohan, established their Center for Diabetes in 1991, now popularly known as Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialties Center. It has grown into one of the largest dedicated centers for diabetic care in the world. Dr. Mohan, in his book, Making Excellence a Habit, acknowledges the key role and support given by his wife, Dr. Rama Mohan, a well-known ophthalmologist, his daughter, Dr. R.M. Anjana, and son-in-law, Dr. Ranjit Unnikrishnan, along with several colleagues, currently manage a chain of 50 diabetes centers across India. Dr. Mohan's passion for diabetes research, which started at the age of 18, has driven him to conduct several studies researching different aspects of diabetes. In 1996, Dr. Rama and he established the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation at Chennai, which today is known globally as one of the largest standalone centers for diabetes research. He has over 1,620 publications, including over 1,040 original research articles in peer-reviewed journals, 389 invited reviews and editorials, and 187 chapters in textbooks on diabetes and internal medicine. Dr. Mohan's contribution to diabetes and the care of those affected with diabetes has been recognized the world over. He was awarded the Padma Shri by the Government of India and the Harold Rifkin Distinguished International Service in the Cause of Diabetes Award from the American Diabetes Association in 2018. He is the first Indian to be conferred this prestigious award. He is also a recipient of the B.C. Roy Award and has been recognized as the top scientist from Tamil Nadu state. He also has to his credit books written and published by him chronicling his thoughts in life and his experiences. Many of you may not have read in the recent, just 2 days ago in the Times of India, I came across this. He has been chosen the leader in the category of science and technology for the Lakshmipat Singhania IIM Lucknow National Leadership Awards 2022-23 for outstanding contribution and exceptional leadership. He will receive this award in New Delhi on the 7th of December from President Draupadi Murmu. On this day, the first day of December 2023, the Target Foundation deems it an honor to present the 19th Professor Arcot Gajaraj Memorial Oration to Padma Shri Dr. Mohan Vishwanathan.
Respected chief guest of the day, Dr. Sylendra Babu, the guest of honor, Dr. P.B. Shivaraman, Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj, and other family members of Dr. Gajaraj, who was my teacher, respected seniors in the audience like Dr. Colonel Krishnan and many other seniors. I'm extremely humbled to be here today because I know what a great honor it is to deliver this oration. Just looking at the list of the previous orators makes one humbled, because starting with my teacher, Professor K.V. Thiruvengadam, who delivered the first lecture, giants before me have delivered this oration. Professor Gajaraj was a very good friend of my father, maybe 2 years junior to my father, and they were together in the Stanley Medical College. And therefore, I knew of Professor Gajaraj even when I was growing up. Subsequently, I've had a lot of interactions with Professor Gajaraj. And then it took a personal turn when my wife developed cancer, and it was Professor Gajaraj who treated her after Dr. Angabashyam operated on her. And that was a time when I really got quite close to him. And I appreciated the concern that he had for patients, because it was not just delivering a radiotherapy, but he went much beyond that, and he gave us a lot of comfort. Dr. Jayashree, of course, I have known since she was my junior in college, and she also belongs to a very distinguished batch, which has a lot of, although she didn't acknowledge that, it was another very good batch of Madras Medical College. Seeing the great work done by the Kausalya Gajaraj Charitable Trust, again I'm humbled that so much of work has gone on, even during COVID, when most people would have stayed at home. They took the effort to try to reach out to people. Sir, Dr. Sylendra Babu, we are very, very grateful to you for the kind words that you have said, because unfortunately you repeatedly kept saying scientific medicine, scientifically trained doctors, and this is music to my ears, because today nobody respects science, nobody respects scientific medicine, and in fact allopathic doctors are even looked down upon. Generally there's a wave in the country that all that we are doing is bad, that we are giving powerful medicines, that we are bribed by pharma, and all kinds of allegations are given, and therefore to find somebody like you to recognize us, I think is a great thing. Grateful to all of you who have sacrificed your time this evening to be here. In the interest of time, since we are running a little behind, let me go on straight into my oration, thanking Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj and the Target Foundation for inviting me here today. Let me dedicate this lecture to this great man who has touched the lives of so many thousands of people in this country and will be remembered for generations to come. I offer my pranams to you, sir. Can I have the next? Oh, I have this here. Okay. Thank you. So just to formally thank Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj and the other guests who have come. I can't but start this lecture without offering my pranams to my medical guru, Dr. Vishwanathan. So those of you who have read my autobiography would know that I didn't want to be a doctor at all, unlike Dr. Sylendra, who wanted to be a doctor and didn't end up being a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor, I wanted to be a writer, which explains why I keep writing all these things now. But it was he who, at that time, there's a lot, I believe a lot in serendipity. You know, life takes different twists and turns, and then later on you realize why that happened in life. And one of the things I think why I became a doctor was because he left Stanley. And when he left Stanley, he didn't know what to do with his life. And so he kind of called me and said, "You do medicine." And said, I don't want to do medicine, I want to be a writer. He said, "No, you do medical writing." And which is the reason why I started publishing at 18. Because then I told him, if you want me to do that, I really have to start doing it now, because that's what I want to do. And so it was he is far ahead of his time in his thinking, and definitely I would not have been what I am but for him. The second half of my life, the first 20 years I spent with him. And that time, of course, Rama, who was my classmate, was also with me. But later on, after we branched out, it was entirely her skill, her ability. She was not only a very good ophthalmologist, she was the first PhD in ophthalmology, in ophthalmologist to get a PhD in the whole country. So she was a researcher on her own right. But more than that, she's a great administrator, and that's why many of the staff who have come here remember her very fondly. And it was she who really built the institution. Although all the credit is given to me, it was really she. And later on, my daughter Anjana and son-in-law Ranjit, who really helped me to build the institution, apart from so many of my staff who are here, who are shown here. And but for them, I don't think any of this work, you talk about 1,600 publications, people even ask, how can you even do that? Last year, for example, in 1 year, we published 150 original articles in some of the best journals in the world, New England Journal, Lancet, Nature, Nature Medicine. These are the kind of articles we published last year. So people say, how do you do it? I can't do it. I have a huge team. And because we have a huge team and all of them are working very hard, that's how an institution has come up. So Dr.C.Sylendra Babu talked about being a leader. Now, I always tell people that if after you, there is nobody to continue your work, you have totally failed in life, because then you have not produced anything. You've just done all the glory for yourself, and with you it stops. On the other hand, the work continues. For example, after my father, it continued through me, and now I have my daughter, and it's not just a family, but so many others. Many of my doctors are here in the audience. So because the whole idea of taking up medicine is to serve people. So with that introduction, let me go on to this little controversial topic, which I've called it as a diabetes complications-free India. Is it a hype or a reality? And I try to convince you that it's actually a hype. No conflict of interest to declare in this talk, because all the funding that I'm going to present here from government sources. Let me start here. 1972, the year when 71, 72, when I joined my father and started working with him on diabetes. At that same year, a study was done, and that's the first survey done in a multi-center manner in the country. And that survey showed that the prevalence, this doesn't work, doesn't matter. The prevalence of diabetes was 2% in urban areas and 1% in rural areas. This was cities like Delhi, Trivandrum, Ahmedabad, Chennai was not included in that particular study, but it was roughly the same. 2% of all adults above 20 years had diabetes, and in rural areas, 1%. Slowly over the years, it became 4%, 5%, 11, 12, 20, 22, 25. Today, it's probably in Chennai city, if you take all adults above 20 years of age, probably 30% have diabetes. 1 in 3 adults above 20 years of age. Now, why I'm saying this is, there are people who say, some of these people who come on social media and write, including allopathic doctors, who say this is all made up. There is no increase in diabetes at all. It's all imagination. They're all doing it just to, curry favor with the pharmaceutical industry and so on. Here are studies for 40 years, 50 years, which have been showing consistent increase, okay? And in rural areas also, it's catching up. In fact, in rural Kerala today, the rural diabetes is actually higher than the urban diabetes, because there's no urban-rural divide in Kerala. So there's a huge increase, almost a 10-fold increase in diabetes. Now, if you think, oh, it's only 25%, 75% don't have diabetes. This is about 20 years of age. If you take somebody who's 50 years old and living in Chennai or in Delhi, half of them have diabetes today, 1 in 2. That means you walk on the road, see somebody who's little got gray hair, above 50 years of age, 1 in 2 has got diabetes. And another 25 to 30% have pre-diabetes. That means at age 50 and above in Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, and so on, 80% have either diabetes or pre-diabetes. Very difficult to get a normal person. We try to get normal controls. It's very difficult to even find them. That's how high, that's how much the epidemic has spread. While I was doing all these studies in Chennai, the problem is every generation, They're standing on your shoulder. I was standing on my father's shoulder. My daughter standing on my shoulder. So she can see much further than what I can see. So she came to me and said, all these studies of yours, no good, useless. So I said, why are you calling it useless? A lot of people seem to think it's good. You are just studying Chennai, and you're saying it's India. India is not Chennai. So I said, what is India? India is India. I have to study whole India. And they said, how are you going to do it? I'm a doctor, I'm practicing here. How do you? No, leave it to me. I'll do it, she said. So one day, in a crazy moment, I went and met the DG of ICMR, Director General of ICMR, Dr. Nirmal Kumar Ganguly, NK Ganguly, and told him, sir, my daughter has this crazy idea. She wants to study the whole country. He said, who said it's a crazy idea? Send her to Delhi, come ask her to make a presentation, and we'll see. So she went, I also went. And then she presented, and she said, I want to study whole country. And he said, take it, we'll fund it. So that's how the ICMR INDIAB study, India Diabetes Study, was taken. It was entirely her baby. And it was done in the whole country, every state of the country, urban, rural, following a representative sample, the largest epidemiological study ever done in the world. 113,000 people. We wanted to study 124,000, but J&K by the time got divided. So we are now doing it now. So what happened was, and this is the 17th publication from the ICMR INDIAB study, and you can see she is the first author of the study. And when this study was published in June 7th it got published. Immediately we started, because the numbers of diabetes had gone so high in India, from the Prime Minister's office, from the Health Minister's office, we started getting called. What is happening? What's happening in India? What's happening in India? We are going to be blamed now that, we did nothing. I said, sir, you just turn it around. There is a huge number of people with pre-diabetes. 101 million, from 70 million, suddenly it went to 100 million. So they're all shaken. BBC called us and said, India's finished now. We said, nothing is finished in India. How can you manage 100 million people? We said, if you have a study which can show that it's got 100 million people, we also know how to look after. You don't worry about it. You look after UK. We look after India. Okay? So BBC is trying to put words in our mouth that we are finished. And we said, nothing is finished. We can take care of ourselves. So I told the health minister, 136 million people are there to be prevented. So say that we'll prevent diabetes. Oh, great idea. We'll tell this to the public. I said, it's not only to the public. We have to do it now. We have to prevent it. Otherwise, this 136 will become added to 101. It will become 236 million people. There are not even many countries in the world with more than 236 million. And we have just diabetics and pre-diabetics, 236 million. Where are we going to go? Okay. Now, is this due to genetic factors or environmental factors? Now, that first slide I showed you gives you the answer. I was alive, and many of you are alive in 1972 when it was 2%. Now it's become 25%. Did our genes change? What gene changed? I didn't undergo any gene therapy. Now so what changed is environmental factors. It's not the genes. The genes are still the same. Environmental factors changed. And these environmental factors are shown here. From carrying loads on your head, now you only carry a cell phone. Nothing else you carry. Okay? From playing in the field, now we are playing virtually now. Everybody's playing virtually. When we were in school, of course, not an athlete like Dr.C.Sylendra Babu, but at least some athletics we did, some cricket we played, something we did. Today, nobody plays. They come home, they have tuitions, or they're hooked to computer games. We didn't even have TV. TV came only in 1969, when I finished my high school. There's no TV in India, okay? So from there, we've come a long way. And from the frugal meals that we ate, now those kind of junk foods are being eaten. Why? Because our youngsters are working to US timings. Why? Because they're getting paid in dollars. So what does it mean? They'll work throughout the night because it's daytime there. They get paid in dollars. So what will they eat at that time? They're not going to get idli at that time, okay, to eat. So they'll be eating all this junk food. So all this results in increased carbohydrate, glycemic load and calories, less physical activity, and today we're discovering new things like urbanization. You might have seen 2 days ago or 3 days ago in Times of India, diabetes in the air. There was a big article. That's again our work, where we showed that pollution is producing endocrine disruption and producing diabetes. Okay? So those, I'm not even going to that. Let's just talk about diet and exercise. Now, where is the evidence? I'm glad Dr. Sylendra Babu said, make it scientific based. So every statement that we make, we have done based on some research that we have done. This is one of the first studies. This is the Chennai Urban Rural Epidemiological Study, CURES. That one study alone produced 160 papers. 160 papers from that one study. This is CURES 59, where it was published in the British Journal of Nutrition, where we looked at Chennai and we looked at what people ate. Simple thing, rice, okay, carbohydrate. And the more rice you eat, will you get diabetes? And that's the answer. The first quartile, people who take about 200 grams of carbohydrate in a day, if you take that as the reference, odds ratio of 1, let's say it's 6% or 8% or something. By the time you double your carbohydrate intake from 200 grams to 400 grams, diabetes goes up 4 times. So from 8% it will become 32%, not 8 to 10%. Now you may say that's because of obesity. They're eating more. Already corrected. If you see in the adjusted below, age, family history, physical activity, income, all adjusted for. And despite that, a huge increase. So what's the first message? We're eating too much carbohydrate. We're eating too much of rice in the south and too much of wheat in the north. And that's the main driver of the epidemic. So that is what has happened in the last 50 years. 50 years ago, as the chief guest said, people are starving. They didn't have food. We were depending on the wheat which came from the United States, PL 480. The ships would come, and I remember the headlines when I was a student in school. India has food for 2 more weeks till the next ship comes from US. And then came C. Subramaniam and M.S. Swaminathan, who created the Green Revolution. And India started having enough food. Slowly, we became self-sufficient. But then we went the other extreme. We had too much food now, overeating, obesity. So from starvation, we have gone to obesity, okay? And that's what is leading to that. Now, if you look at this, with carbohydrate, diabetes goes up. With glycemic index, the ability to increase the glucose level, it goes up. Glycemic load, the total amount of the glycemic index that you consume, it goes up. Now, if that is true, then if you do good things, if you take more fiber, what should happen? It should go down. Exactly like that we found. That when you take more fiber, you have less diabetes. So from these epidemiological studies, which are very big studies, this one is done on 26,000 people. All studies are done on huge sample size. So there's no chance of an error or statistical error and so on. So with this, we were kind of getting convinced that we know why there is this epidemic of diabetes. But then there is a cross-sectional study. In a cross-sectional study, what happens is you're studying at this particular time. Only people who are alive at that time you can study. What if somebody has already died? You don't know. So if you really want to prove it, you need longitudinal studies. That means you take a population who did not have diabetes, follow the same people for 15 years. That's not easy to do, okay? But we did it. So that's a pure study. In the pure study, there are 21 countries, 132,000 people who have been followed for 15 years. Such a study has never been done in the world. And most of the pure studies are published in New England Journal, Lancet, and so on. Of course, Dr. Salim Yusuf, shown as the last author there, he's a South Indian, and he started the pure study with us, Bangalore, St. John's first, then Chennai, then Tamil Nadu got added, then the Kerala got added, and then Jaipur, and then Chandigarh. So it started with that. Then he said, why only India? So we went to China, then we went to Africa, then we went to Europe, then we went to Canada, then we went everywhere. Today, actually we have more than this. We have now almost 30 countries and almost 200,000 people who are being followed. So the diabetes part of this I take care of. So I told Salim, let's look at, see, we've shown in Chennai study that rice is linked to diabetes. What about if we follow these people who did not have diabetes when we started 15 years ago, they've developed diabetes now, we have their dietary history then, let's now prove it, that rice is actually linked to diabetes. And this is the definitive study, and Bhavdarni was my PhD student who later went and joined Salim Yusuf. She's in Toronto. So here is the data. South Asia eats the maximum amount of rice. In other parts of the world, it's very, very low. Even China, the rice has gone down. They started eating healthier food. But South Asia, which includes India, Bangladesh, Pakistan and so on, have the highest. Now here is the evidence. The hazards ratio for getting new onset diabetes, that means they did not have diabetes earlier, now you are having diabetes, after adjusting for everything else, the hazards ratio is 1.61. Now what does it mean? It means there's a 61% higher risk of getting diabetes if you eat rice, if you eat too much of rice. And that's strongest in South Asia, where rice is taken, much less in other parts of the world. In China, it's still there, 1.04, 4% higher, but it's not reaching statistical significance. In South Asia, no doubt at all. So this is a kind of a definitive thing that, yes, rice is one of the things that we have to do. Now we ask the question, okay, you're eating the rice. What if you do physical activity on top of that? Can you cut that risk a little bit? Yes, you can. From 50% risk, it comes down to 16% risk. Statistical significance is gone. So even if you're eating rice, please do exercise. We all can't do like Sylendra Babu. I can't swim from Colombo to here. But at least walk 30 minutes, no? That you can do. How many of you do that, by the way? Can I see a show of hands? Everyday walk? Very disappointed. Not even 20% of this audience. Now, if you have come to listen to this lecture and you're not following it, you can imagine the man outside what he's doing. Okay? INDIAB study says, only 5% of Indians do regular exercise. 5%. 95% are not doing exercise. So how can you cut that risk? You cannot cut the risk. Okay? So we concluded that, yes, white rice is associated with diabetes. Okay. Now let's go to physical activity. Now here is another study. This is done in Chennai. If you look at those who do heavy physical activity, 5% diabetes. Those who do light physical activity, 17%, because it was published in 2005. Since then, much more evidence, much more increase in diabetes. 3 times. Now everybody is eating the same rice. But physical activity, if you do, you're able to cut the risk of diabetes. Okay? We are not even worried about that. We are worried about the complications. In fact, somebody used to say, you mentioned, Dr. Sylendra mentioned about the car that he drove. People used to say, எல்லாம் கரெக்டு Mercedes Benzலாம் கிடைச்சா பத்தாது. That's not enough. கொஞ்சம் diabetes கூட வரணும். Then only you made it in life. That's what people used to say. Diabetes கூட இல்லையா? What kind of fellow you are? What success you have? கொஞ்சம் diabetes இருந்தா தான் அதுக்கு ஒரு you made it in life, We are not worried about diabetes. We are worried about its complications. This is again population-based data on complications of diabetes. Nobody else has got this data. So if you look at urban, rural, we have got the data. Roughly, let's take 1 in 4 of everyone can develop some complication or other. Just take kidney disease. If there are 100 million people in India, 25% prevalence, 25 million people in India with kidney disease. That's the population of Australia. Okay? Now, admittedly, not all that 25 million are in end-stage kidney disease. It includes microalbuminuria, earliest stage. Given that, let's say 1/5 of them develop end-stage renal disease, which is a very conservative estimate. That's 5 million people with end-stage kidney disease in India. That's the population of Denmark. Whole of population of Denmark, we have end-stage renal failure in India. What's the treatment? Scientific treatment, other than the big advertisement which came in Times of India day before yesterday, saying all kidney failure patients, some quack has got enough money to put a full page, and I can't put a full page in Times of India. He says, take this, some drug, some Ayurvedic drug. And he says, your kidney failure will go, you don't need dialysis, you don't need transplant. If you leave those bogus guys alone, there is only 2 treatments for end-stage renal disease. Either you have to undergo dialysis or you have to do transplant. Both of them are extremely expensive. Dr. M.K. Mani says that only 5% of people in India can afford either. Dialysis you keep doing, it's lifelong. If you stop your dialysis, you'll die. Okay? Transplant is one time, but then you need immunosuppression lifelong. So both treatments are not easy. So we cannot afford. If this 100 million becomes 200 million, we're going to have 50 million people with kidney disease. Where are we ever going to get? How many nephrologists do you have? Which government will be able to give dialysis to everyone? It's impossible. The only thing we can do is to prevent the complications. Okay? So can we make India diabetes free or diabetes complications free? Diabetes free, forget about it. 2000 years ago, we had diabetes. Okay? Today is increasing. In 50 years, it has gone up so much. Where are you going to get rid of diabetes? Age is a non-modifiable risk factor. Family history of diabetes is a non-modifiable risk factor. You can't do anything else. And Dr.C.Sylendra Babu beautifully said about the lifespan. From 35 years independence to almost 70 years now. It's going to become 80 years in a few years' time. Diabetes will increase. So let's not worry about it. Okay? Let's have diabetes. Doesn't matter. Can we prevent the complications of diabetes? At least can we eliminate that? So we should be free from, again, I'm not saying one spot in the eye should not be there, little microalbuminuria should not be there. I'm not talking about that. We should not have blindness. We should not have amputation. We should not have dialysis. We should not have heart attacks due to diabetes. And we should not have pain and suffering. I'm not even included impotence and other kind of complications. These are all the complications people are having today. Can we get rid of all of them? Can we dream of an India which is completely free of the complications of diabetes? I believe we can, but we have to do a few things. No eye, no blindness, no amputation, no kidney failure. Okay? What should be the formula to do that? We have to do these. Number one, we have to detect diabetes early. Diabetes doesn't have symptoms. Symptoms come very late. If you're going to wait for the symptoms to come, you're going to lose 5 to 10 years, by which time all complications would have set in. So first, detect diabetes early and try to reverse it. Achieve A, B, C, D. This is another A, B, C, D, sir. I'll explain that. Ensure regularity of follow-up. Then you have to scale it up. And then finally, is long and healthy life possible? I'll try to answer this. This is a very simple drawing. First, you have normal stage, normal glucose tolerance. Then you have pre-diabetes. Then you have diabetes. Finally, you have complications. You'll see the arrow, yellow arrow pulling you that way. As you grow older, the disease is pulling you. That's why from 2% we went to 25%. Can you do the other way, reversal, which you talked about? You can in very early stages. The title of my article in that Hindu, which the chief guest mentioned, is Remission of Diabetes, Possible but Not Essential. It's possible in some people, but not essential. You don't even need it. Because if you can reverse it, good. Even if you stay there, it's good enough. As long as you don't cross over to the complications, good enough. All I am saying is, let's not cross over there. Let's have an ambitious goal which is achievable, and that's possible, okay? The other problem we have in India is, most people have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, when they are 50, 60 years old in the West. We already started getting it in 40, then 30s, 20s. Today I have teenagers. 12-year-old fellow, this size comes. He's got severe diabetes. By the time he's 20 years old, 6 medicines have stopped working. Insulin has stopped working. I just don't know what to do. I'm not able to control them because you're getting it younger and younger. The younger you get, the longer you will have diabetes. By the time you're 40, you already finished 20 years of diabetes, you may have kidney failure then. If you get it at 50 or 60, you have to become 80 to get, our lifespan is only 70. Okay? So, try not to get it at a young age, and that is prevention. To prevent diabetes, you have to look for those with family history of diabetes, look for other things, obesity, hypertension, dyslipidemia. These are people who get diabetes, or after gestational diabetes, after pregnancy. They are the ones who develop diabetes, okay? So if you catch them there, you can prevent it. If you get them in the clinical diabetes stage, you can halt it. That's called secondary prevention. What is tertiary prevention? Already one eye is gone. Can you save the other eye? You can't leave them off. Oh, you should have come to me earlier. You know, it's too late. No, we have to do something as doctors, okay? If one leg is gone, save the other leg at least. It's too late in the day, but at least that we, as doctors, we can't give up at that stage. Right. We showed in the prevention trial, it's called the D-CLIP trial, that if you take people with pre-diabetes and just make them walk and cut down the rice, you can actually prevent them from going from that pre-diabetic to diabetic stage. 36% of people could be prevented. But again, we've had, for those doctors in the audience, there's one type of pre-diabetes where only the fasting is increased and the 2 hour is normal. Those people we could not prevent. Even after diet, exercise, cutting down rice, doing everything, we could not prevent. Now we are trying to find out how to address that problem now. But if you have impaired glucose tolerance, where the 2-hour value in the OGTT goes up, you can definitely prevent it. And that's what we showed here. That's just proof that you can prevent diabetes. Now, let's go to good control of diabetes. You already got diabetes. Okay? Now, this is not the ABCD for reversal. This is ABCD to prevent complications. What is this ABCD? Your A1C should be less than 7%. HbA1c, glycated hemoglobin. Blood pressure below 130 by 80 or at least below 140 by 90. C stands for cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, it should be below 70 or at least below 100. And D stands for discipline, where you have diet, exercise, no smoking. If you do all this and keep smoking, you're not doing anything, not worth it, doing the rest of it. Moderation alcohol use or no alcohol, stress reduction and regularity of follow-up. I'll show you each of these, okay? Sounds very easy, isn't it? Oh, A, B, C, D, so easy as A, B, C. Well, it's not so easy. Now again, are we meeting these goals? Let's go back to INDAB. INDAB number 13 this is, again published in the Lancet. Again, my daughter took the lead in this. So what we did was, went to the whole country, took a representative sample of those who had diabetes, and then said, where is the ABC? Are they achieving it? Now, those who had all those values I told you, less than 7%, blood pressure normal, LDL normal, they are green. If they're not so good, it is pink. And really bad is red. Now, we have this for the whole country now. Starting from Andhra Pradesh is in alphabetical order. From Andhra Pradesh to West Bengal, every state, thanks to INDAB, we have HbA1c, we have blood pressure, we have lipids, we have smoking, we have alcohol, we have fruits and vegetable intake, and physical activity. Now just look at HbA1c. It should be below 7%. There is no state in India where it's below 7%. Not even one state in India. Okay? And the blood pressure is a little better, lipids are still a little better, but go to physical activity. Physical activity, green is if you do every day, vigorous exercise. If you have pink, you're doing something once or twice a day. Red is where you do zero physical activity, the exact opposite of what our chief guest does. Okay? Exact opposite. That is complete red. The whole country is complete red. So how are you going to prevent diabetic complications or prevent diabetes? That's what I just showed you the data. Okay? So if you take A, B, and C together, blood pressure control, glucose control, that is HbA1c control, and cholesterol control. Only 7% of people in India who know that they have diabetes, who are supposed to be going for a treatment, all the three under control, only 7%. 93% are not under control. Long way to go. We are far below our targets. Now, regularity of follow-up. Now, when we call people and tell them, sir, you've not come for 3 to 6 months. You know what do they think? Practice kornju pochu pola irukku. Koopne irukanga. Koopadadeya. Na varumbodhu na varuven. Avladhaan. Don't remind me. Okay? We are not doing it to make money. We are doing it because that's the only way to prevent complications of diabetes. You may say, do you have data for that? If I didn't have data, I won't show you. I won't have one slide here where I don't have data. This is again a study which my daughter took up. What we wanted to see was, okay, people are coming to the clinic. Let's look at those who come 3 times, 4 times in a year. Let us look at those who come once a year or less than once a year. So we call them as regular follow-up and irregular follow-up. Now, what's shown on top is those who come irregularly for follow-up. Look at their A1C, 8.2, 8.4, 8.2. I said it should be 7. Those are coming, this is a real-world study. It's not a clinical trial. Look at those who are coming regularly forward, 7, 7.8, still not perfect, but at least in the 7 range. Now that 1% difference, because they are not coming, is it significant? We have taken that in the lower part. I don't want to show you what that is. That's called as the glycemic burden. So the glycemic burden is much more if you don't come for follow-up. And what did we find? When we started the 9-year study, none of them had complications. At the end of 9 years, what we found was that those who came regularly for follow-up, 50% lower kidney disease and eye complications. What is the title of my talk? Whether you can make it diabetes free. If you come regularly for follow-up, 50% we can reduce the chances of getting kidney disease or eye complications. Okay? Now, how do we scale this up? Okay, you just do it in your one clinic. How is it going to help? No, it's not enough. You have to scale it up. How do you scale it up? Now, this is the first thing that we did. This is the first epidemiological study that we did. This is called as the CUP study, Chennai Urban Population Study. What we did was we took a middle income group and then we took a low income group. Now, the low income group, you would think, would have less diabetes, obviously, isn't it? Here, they're using cars. There are one scooter is there, nothing else is there. So people are walking more. They'll probably have more obesity, okay? Believe it or not, at that time, I think about 20 years ago when we published this, there was not a single study which has looked within a city to see intra-urban differences. What we found was, not surprisingly, the middle income group had 12% prevalence. The low income group, we didn't even expect 6%. These are auto rickshaw drivers and people like that. 6%. That is quite high at that time. When is the year? 2001, 22 years ago. It was quite high. But we didn't leave it. My father taught me, never do a research project just to publish a paper. Go back to the community and offer something to them. Otherwise, your research has no meaning, he said. It's quite right. So we went back to these people. No, we left the low-income group because they were, more worried about alcohol and tobacco, and they didn't diarrhea and cholera, and they had so many other problems 22 years ago. They didn't even know what is diabetes. They're not even interested. Middle-income group is where 80% of Chennai lives. So we said, let's focus on that. Let's make this into a case study. So what we did was we went to that low-income group. It was actually Tirumangalam and Asiat colony. We went there and we said, if you don't watch out, this 12% will become, we had already told them, it will become 20%, 25%. So they said, what we should do? You should walk. They said, if you walk, on the road, actually our lives may go down. Like you said about the sharks. On the dog may bite, we can get rabies, okay? Truck may hit us, there's no footpath also to walk. Truck may hit us, or pollution will kill us. We said, no, don't worry about all that. Find a safe place to walk. There's no safe place to walk. As we were talking, we saw this. So this is Asiat colony. So we are talking to the citizens there. We found a wide area outside. So we said, this one. So we said, what is that for? Oh, there is Asiat colony number 2. We said, there need not be Asiat colony number 2. Why don't you build a park there? Okay. They said, how will we build a park? I said, go and ask the government. They asked the government. Government said, we have no funds. Okay. Then we told them, forget about the government. Yeah. You build it. How will you build? You raise money, it's for yourself only. No. All of you put in money and build a park. Nobody in the world has done that. Citizens themselves building a park. So they liked the idea. They all pooled in money and they built the first park built by citizens in India. Okay? Now children can play. And everybody can walk. You saw everybody walking. So people told us, they'll go, anything you do in life, there'll be people to criticize you. And they say, sir, after 1 month, nothing will work. So we said, let's follow it up. Let's see what happens. Now, before we built the park, 13% of people were doing the exercise. After we built the park, it went to 52%. There's a 277% increase in exercise. So if you give people a place to walk, they will walk. If you don't give a place to walk, they will not walk. Okay? So we proved that. This became a very big WHO story. Oh, people built their own park. Actually, a second park came then in Harrington Road. Then a third one came. Adukula election vandichu. Then government realized, people want this. They said, neenga enna 2-3 park, naanga 100 park build pannom. So they built 100 parks and then refurbished another 100 parks. So thanks to Asiat colony, 200 parks came in Chennai. See the multiplier effect. Okay, good things will always be copied. Okay. Now, what is this to do with diabetes? You will say, park build panna, neenga social worker. Our interest is different. We want to see whether it helps in preventing diabetes, isn't it? Now, by the time, as we predicted, diabetes already reached 20%. So we went back to Asiat colony and we said, anything less than 20% there is success for us. Adhe Mary colony 22%. So in Asiat colony is less na, it is due to that. So we went back. 12%, remember earlier. What do you think it will be now? They started walking and all now. What do you think it will be? 11%? 7%? Same as before. It's a good guess. Remember, age is a non-modifiable risk factor. They are 10 years older. So it has to go up. That's why I said you cannot prevent diabetes completely. Okay? You cannot remove diabetes completely because age is a... So it went up, but very modest. See, it was 22% other places, here it's only 15%. So it's only a 24% increase. Now, that's a good news for us. Now comes the bad news. You remember those guys whom we left off? The Bharati Nagar slums in Tirumangalam, in T Nagar. So we went back there and said, let's test those guys. So we thought, first we finish this. And we said, let's go and see what happened there. We didn't do anything there. So we said, let's see. Maybe, what do you think? 20%? Poor people, yeah? Okay. It's actually the same. Okay. 15% died because we didn't do anything from 6 to 15. Now, we cannot do the study. If we did this now, it will be totally unethical. It was not unethical then because we didn't know whether this will work or not, number one. Number two, we didn't have anything to do, offer to the poor people. We didn't want anything to do about diabetes. But the title of this paper is published in American Journal. The title of this paper is Equalization of Prevalence Rate in the Middle Income Group and Low Income Group. That is the first warning to us that the poor people are now getting diabetes. Today, in INDAB, when you finish INDAB, the poor people have more diabetes than the rich people. Why? Rich people will go and buy salads, they'll go and buy organic foods, they'll go to the gym, they'll exercise, they'll learn dancing, they'll be worried about their figure, they know about obesity, they know everything. Poor people, they don't have any facility. So today, poor people have more diabetes. And this is an example of translational research through community empowerment. You have to empower the community. Show them the way, and they will do it. Okay? Now we go to the rural. So my wife is telling me at that time, she's alive. She said, Mohan, we're doing all this for Chennai. What about rural, yeah? Because 72% of India lives in rural areas. 78% of the doctors practice in urban areas. Right from British time, we had this problem. We're still having the problem. Okay? Now, in rural areas, you have low literacy rate, no access, poverty, lack of diabetes, specialized care. So we said, this is our next challenge. We have to solve this problem. There's no model in the world. Nobody in the world had any model for that. So we said, okay, first let's set the target. The target is a 6-8 test. What is a 6-8 test? Let's make diabetes care available, accessible, affordable, appropriate, acceptable, and accountable in rural India. Okay? That's our target. That's our mission. So while we were thinking about this, now I'm a great believer in spirituality. I'm a great believer in divinity. I always believe that when you set your goal to do some good thing, doors will open and suddenly you will start getting help. We were just thinking about this. We set this and we said, how do we go about this now? Which rural area shall we go? We get a call from the Zamindar of Chunampet. He called me and said, Mohan, come and see me. I said, sir, no. Chunampet ko enga sir Chunampet. I don't know where is Chunampet. La va, na konja land kodukka poran unakku. You come. He said, oh, land kodukka poran. Okay, we'll go. Pona when met him, then he said, na 9 acre ready ah kuduthren unakku. Nee enna pannuve adha vechittu. I said, give me 10 minutes, sir. Na veliyil poitu varen. So I went out, drew the plan for the Chunampet diabetes project. Okay? And that's Chunampet. For those of you who don't know, Chennai, Kanjipuram, southern tip of Kanjipuram district is Chunampet. So that's where he had the land. So anga he gave us a land. The moment he gave us a land, we went to World Diabetes Foundation. He said, give us some money. We need to have a model. Doctors are not going to go there. We have to use some telemedicine or something and then do. ISRO gave us the satellite. So with that, we built the chassis, right? We bought the chassis and then built the whole van. This became a mobile diabetes hospital. So now this can go to all the villages. Inside that, we put retinal camera, Doppler, bathymetry, ECG, everything we put inside. Now, we go to the villages. And then what we do, we talk to them. Then we take the local men and women who are high school dropouts. They won't get a job. And then we train them how to take blood pressure, how to take sugar, how to do heights, weights, how to get informed consent, how to do everything. So these people have all got a job now. This is an example of Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas, Abdul Kalam's famous Pura. If the lady has diabetes, all she has to do is to enter into the van. The van is parked there only. They don't have to go anywhere. Inside the van, everything is done. The eyes are checked, the feet are checked, ECG is checked, heart is checked, everything is checked. The picture which is taken inside the van can be immediately zoomed into our hospital in Gopalapuram, where Dr. Prathipa, our ophthalmologist, is talking to that lady sitting 200 kilometers away and saying, this is the eye, this is lens, cataract comes there, but we are checking for the retina once a year. Now that's a plot of land which the Zamindar gave us. My wife and I donated the money for the building. We found a doctor there, Dr. Rakesh, who's still working with us, called him to our center in Chennai, trained him and put him back there itself. Okay? So he doesn't have to migrate to Chennai. The results were fantastic. We adopted 42 other villages in and around Chunampet, and then 200,000 people we are able to give them, because the van is going, so we can go and give training about diabetes to 200,000 people. The government said, government of Tamil Nadu, irrespective of which party was in power, they said, you take it. Take these villages, they are yours. You give us what you did. Every year, give us a report on these villages. And every year, we're giving the report back to them. We studied the adult population of these, villages, screened them all for diabetes, screened them for complications, got our rural data also, and then using very low-cost medicines. You can get medicines for 2 rupees, 1 rupee. With that low-cost medicines, we brought down the HbA1c of the whole village from 9.3 to 8.5. Doesn't mean that people didn't reach 7. The entire village's HbA1c has come down. Nobody had done that in the world. The whole village's HbA1c coming down. Not one village, 42 villages. Okay? Now this became an instant hit. People started writing about it. All kinds of people came to us. First of all, the Lancet wrote about it. That's how we got international credit for this. Lancet, as you know, is the world's #1 journal today. The impact factor of Lancet is 220 today. Okay, it's above New England Journal, it's above Nature, it's above Science, it's above everything. This is the #1 journal in the world. So they wrote saying that Chunampet Rural Diabetes Prevention Project thus seems to be a good model for delivering preventive and therapeutic diabetes healthcare to rural areas. So now we have scaled it up to rural areas. Then we got all the channels coming to us. CNN came, Discovery Channel came, BBC came. Le Monde de France, in France, is the world's largest French newspaper. That's the first page of Le Monde. The whole page is about Chunampet project. In India, I can translate for you. In India, the poor can now receive diabetes treatment. So India became a model for the world. Okay? And then in this book, Jugad, many of you would have read this book. Ratan Tata and all have contributed to this. There's a full chapter on the Chunampet project, how innovation can help India. Okay? And of course, there's a Business World magazine. Now, these guys, they came and said, tell us about your 50 branches all over in 8 states of India. I said, I'm not going to talk about that. I want you to write about Chunampet. Oh, that's a loss-making thing. You cannot write. I said, it's not loss-making. We are helping people. Where is loss when you're helping poor people? Is it loss? The government is spending on you. Is it loss? There's no question. So they said, they went on saying, I said, no, you write about this. Because I want more businessmen can do that. If one doctor and one institution can look after 40 villages, can't the Ambanis of the world look after some 10,000 villages, 20,000 villages each? 4 of them join together, whole India they can take. They don't need anything at all. They don't need the government even. They can just take all the villages in India divided by 10 industrialists, finished. The whole healthcare is over. It's quite simple if you really think about it, isn't it? So okay, you do all this. Do you know that a person with diabetes can have a long and healthy life? Is it even possible? Because everybody says that if you have diabetes, you lose 5 years, 10 years, your life expectancy comes down. That's true. If you don't control diabetes, you'll get kidney disease, heart disease, and even cancers. So is this possible, long and healthy life? This was a paper for which I got the Harold Rifkin Award from the American Diabetes Association. For the first time in the world, again we published 50-year survival of type 2 diabetes. Because we get it young, 50 years is not very difficult. We get it at 20, 30, 70, 80 year is not difficult. We also had a group of non-survivors. So we had survivors Non-survivors. Non-survivors who died before 40 years of diabetes. Survivors who lived for more than 40 years. What did we learn from that? That's from where we got our ABC. We found that we have better glycemic control, that is A, blood pressure control, that's B, lipid control, that's cholesterol, that's C. That's where we got our ABC from. It is not, we didn't make it up. It was from this. We were able to show a large number of people who survived for the first time in the world, 50-year survival, if you just get your A, B, C under control. Okay? Now that was not enough because people said, 50 years, but you're not gone near 100 years, no? So you must still show that people can live up to 100 years. So we published our next paper, clinical profile of elderly patients above 90 years of age. Look at the number of people. We had 325, I think. At the bottom you can see. 325 people who had finished 90 years of diabetes. India's lifespan is 70. These are diabetic people who lived 90 years. Now, you may not believe this till I show you this picture. Okay? In this picture, there are two people who are below 90. Can you identify them? One is me and one is my daughter. Okay. Everyone else is above 90 years of age. Some are above 100 years of age. I'm sure you know Professor Babu, who is sitting second. He had already crossed 100. He was a chief guest. He was 101 years old and he came as a chief guest for the function. Okay. Then we have Sabhanayagam, who was chief secretary of Tamil Nadu for many chief ministers. He was a secretary to many prime ministers. I think 3 prime ministers and 3 chief ministers. He also died recently after 100 years of age. When he came at that time, he was 97, and at 96 he had written a book. He written a book at 96. And that day, I remember, I kept asking my staff, have they come, have they come, have they come? Sir, varla sir, varla sir. So I called them at 10 o'clock. I went there at 10:01. He shouted at me. Punctuality enna theriyada? 10 மணிக்கு வரேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு 10:01க்கு வரேன் 1 minute சார் வரலன்னு சொன்னாங்க சார் அதனால தான் நீ வந்திருக்கணும் you should come and receive us you called us நீ லேட்டாக வரக்கூடாது not he said these are the kind of people and most of them are now nearing 100 almost all of them are alive both of them have gone the rest of them are all alive. Ida Lobo sitting in the middle, any of you know her? Dr. Ida Lobo, you know her? Okay, is she still there? She should be there. She's 94 when she came. Ida Lobo, Dr. Shanta's classmate actually, Cancer Institute. She said, I want to sing a song, she said. So I took a mic to her. Don't insult me, she said. I don't need a mic. And in an auditorium of this size, she sang without a mic, So it's possible that these are all people who have finished 40 years of diabetes. And they're all alive, okay, to tell the tale. So you can live to 100 years despite diabetes. If you detect diabetes early, keep your ABCD under control. The first 10 years are very important. That's when people leave it. That's when your life is decided. First 10 years you control, next 10 years is bonus for you. First 10 years you miss it, you're finished. You cannot do anything. Okay, you cannot get it back. Exercise regularly, eat reasonably healthy diet. I'm not saying cannot have even one gulab jamun or my badam halwa, which I like, all my staff know that. So, doesn't mean you can't eat it at all, but it means small quantities, okay? And reduce stress, very important. Most importantly, regularity of follow-up is very important. I think that's the most important. If they keep coming, we get a chance to bring it down. If they don't come, it goes up, 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 up. Everything keeps going up. If one follows these tips, even people with diabetes can live up to 100 years. This is what my father told me the day I joined him. And of course, as an 18-year-old, I didn't believe him. He told me, a well-disciplined and controlled person with diabetes is often better and healthier than one with diabetes. So I told him, the gapsalam engitta sollade, idella vandu nee platform la poi pesu. And today I understand that it's true. Because you're looking after yourself. You're looking after your sugar. You don't smoke. You do exercise. You're eating healthy. Your weight is maintained. Naturally, you'll live. That's why those guys are all living up to 100 years of age, isn't it? So, making diabetes complications-free, India, diabetes completely free from complications, a hype or a reality? I think it's a reality, but we all have to work together, including all of you. Everyone has to contribute to this. And I'd like to end with this quote. Jagdish Chandra Bose said, and I quote, when one dedicates himself wholly for a great cause, the closed doors shall open. He didn't say it may open. He said it shall open, and the seemingly impossible will become possible for him. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan. I think I especially want to thank you for three things. Just earlier this week when Dr. Jayashree and I were preparing your, of course. Earlier this week when Dr. Jayashree and I were preparing your citation and we were learning about all of your accomplishments and the extent of social impact that you've had in our country, all we could talk about is what an honor it is to share the dais with you and what an honor it is for Target Foundation to have an orator like you come in. So thank you, sir. And the second thing I want to thank you for is bringing such a pertinent topic to us. I think you're talking to a crowd that loves their biryani, loves their sambar rice, loves their roti. So I think it's a great reality check for all of us. And finally, most importantly, I think for bringing such a pertinent oration and orating in such a way that all of us, even non-medical people, can understand it in such a simple and uncomplicated manner, I think that's brilliant. So thank you. Okay, with that, we're almost coming to an end. May I invite Mrs. Muthu to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Aish. I think the silence says how much our doctor has spoken for the last few minutes, and we are all thinking when we start walking and how do we start eating now. Thank you so much, doctor. I think this has been a wonderful time for all of us here. On behalf of Target Foundation, I extend my sincere thanks to the chief guest with Dr.C.Sylendra Babu explaining so much to us about the strength of life and what to do. And to Dr. P.B. Shivaraman, guest of honor. And of course, Dr. P.N. Patel and Mr. Ganesh Babu Balakrishnan for taking us down the memory lane. What an honor it has been for us here to be with you all today. Thank you, Doctor. To a loving and engaging audience, including family, friends, doctors, and colleagues of Dr. Jayashree and Professor Gajaraj, most of you have been patrons of Target for years now, and we consider ourselves very blessed to have received your continued support and involvement every year. A special thanks to the preamble performers, our friends and relatives who have given their time and treating us so much today. Thank you all. My vote of thanks would be incomplete without mentioning the press and Ms. Sri Priya from the Sri Events to helping us entirely organizing this event. And of course, Ilangovan, General Manager, and Chief Natraj from the GRT Grant for your hospitality and support here. Last but not the least, here's a huge thank you and kudos to the entire Target family for organizing and running Point with Target for 19 years now. It's one of the best tributes we could pay to the legendary Professor Arcot Gajaraj. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Mrs. Muthu. May I now request all of you to please stand up for our national anthem.
Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkala, Banga.
Thank you, everyone. We now request you to join us for dinner. I know after Dr. Mohan's talk, I'm not too sure all of us are going to have a guilt-free dinner. But do we? Yeah. So we actually have a diabetes-friendly menu today with us, so you can all enjoy your dinner guilt-free. Thank you, everyone.